Hello, my name is David Turnblom. I'm a professor of theology at the University of Portland, and I'm also a member of the CHIRP lab. CHIRP stands for Collaborative Humanities Investigating Religion and Power. We are an interdisciplinary working group that studies the intersection of power and religion. And this video is part of a series in which we address the key concepts that are important to our work. And this video is going to address the question, what is religion? Usually when we think of religions, some organized religions pop into our head, like Islam or Christianity or Judaism, and some practices and beliefs that are, common amongst those religions might also come up for us, right? Theism, the belief in a God, or concepts of like rituals like worship. And those are certainly religion. But what we at the Chirp Lab want to do is broaden that definition. And in order to do that, we're going to follow the work of the professor of sociology and anthropology named Meredith McGuire. Specifically, we want to highly recommend her book, Lived Religion, Faith and Practice in Everyday Life. This book was published in 2008, and in it, Dr. McGuire encourages us to go broader with what we think of when we think of religion. And she challenges us with this particular question. She says, what might we discover if, instead of looking at affiliation or organizational participation, we focused first on individuals, the experiences they consider most important, and the concrete practices that make up their personal religious experience and expression? What if we think of religion at the individual level as an ever-changing, multifaceted, often messy, even contradictory amalgam of beliefs and practices that are not necessarily those religious institutions would consider important? She's encouraging us to kind of go beyond that narrow definition of religion that would say, well, Christians believe this and they do this, and that's what a religion is, and everything else that a person does is secular. McGuire says, well, no, let's ask people, what practices and beliefs are most important to you? What practices and beliefs give your life meaning and purpose? That is where we're going to really discover people's religions. And following that thought process, Professor Marianne Moyer, who's a professor of religion and theology, also has a broader definition. She says religious traditions provide a symbolic framework through which the transcendent is experienced. This framework is analogous to a language in the broad meaning of the word, or a culture that gives shape to experience and knowledge. The phrase I want us to pay attention to here is a symbolic framework, right? All of us in our everyday lives are constantly surrounded by symbols, and we're using symbols. For instance, the clothing that we choose to wear is a type of symbol that communicates something and gives expression, self-expression to others. We also use symbols like food as a way of cultivating ourselves in relationship. We use things like architecture. All of this is the symbolic framework that makes up our culture and our everyday life, and it has huge implications. So these religious symbolic frameworks do two things. First, they mediate. Religions mediate an experience of transcendence. And what we mean by that is to say that there are things in life, the invisible, the ineffable, the things that are so difficult for us to, give expression to, but yet are at the center of who we are. We got to find a way to experience that transcendence. So I'll give you a concrete example of this. My wife doesn't know what it feels like to love her, right? My love for her is something she doesn't have access to. She can't read my mind. And so I need to give her an experience of that love through symbols. I need to hug her. I need to write her letters. I need to cook her meals. I need to celebrate our anniversary, right? Those are all the symbolic framework that mediates my love to her, and then she does the same in return. And our lives are built up with this symbolic framework that allows us to experience the transcendence of being in love. Religions, right, the kind of organized religions do something similar, right? They'll use sacred scriptures or certain rituals, certain prayers as a way of mediating an experience of the transcendence that some might call God. So religions use this symbolic framework as mediation, but they also use that symbolic framework to cultivate. Religions cultivate our identities through the use of symbols. So simultaneously, why that symbolic framework is allowing us to experience the transcendent, that symbolic framework is also cultivating, that's to say, caring for and maintaining our identity. Right? All those things I described with my marriage, that's a way of my wife and I building up our identity as husband and wife. Right? The ways that somebody might garden diligently every single day in their backyard is a way of cultivating not just the garden, but also cultivating who they are in relationship to the earth. And as they cultivate that within themselves, they're also simultaneously, through that symbol, mediating an experience of the transcendence, of the oneness of all of the universe. Right? So religions are broadly defined as symbolic frameworks that mediate the transcendent and at the same time cultivate our identities as individuals and as communities. So when we talk about religion in the Chirp Lab, we're talking broadly, being able to look at all aspects of human life and practices and to think critically about them.